So today I'm talking about overpaying your mortgage, whether this is something you should do, and if you do want to do it, how you can go about it. So make sure you stick around to the end to get all the details, including an example of what it could achieve for you. So this is the Looking After Your Pennies YouTube channel. My name is Charlotte Jessup. I'm really thrilled to have you here. And today I'm going to be talking about mortgages. So how can you save thousands of pounds by paying a bit more of your mortgage every month, and actually whether it is the right thing to do for you. Now, this video is purely educational. I'm not giving you advice. This is just me saying, hey, this is one option that you have, and it could save you some money in the long term. Those of us with mortgages will be paying a monthly payment that is going towards paying off our house, and you can kind of speed up paying off your house if you pay a little bit extra. But there are lots of reasons to do it. So why might you consider overpaying on your mortgage? So the first reason, and one of the big motivating factors for a lot of people, is that it could save them thousands in interest payments. So your monthly mortgage payment will be made up of a capital repayment, so this is the money that actually goes towards paying off the debt, and then part of it will be interest. So this is what you owe your bank or mortgage provider for actually having that loan on your house. Just your way of saying thanks for having the money. Probably not that grateful. But that's what your mortgage payment is made up of. Now, if you start overpaying your mortgage, you owe the bank less. So you have to pay them less interest for the privilege. So it's a great way. And if you start paying it off faster, you will cut hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of interest payments off the total amount of interest that you should have paid over the entire term. So that's a real motivating factor. Another motivating factor is people just want security of owning their own house. Can you imagine what it would be like to know that you've got a roof over your head for the rest of your life? Even if you paid nothing else for housing ever again, you've still got that roof over your head for you, a partner, family members. So there's some real security in that. And I think there is a lot to be said about having that feeling. If you're the sort of person that's got a big mortgage payment at the moment, it can feel daunting knowing that you've got to work or you've got to keep finding a way to pay that bill to ensure that your family have a safe place to live. And when you're mortgage free, you want to be in a position where you don't have to worry about that anymore. You're always going to have a home. Now, leading on from that, there's also this idea of kind of financial independence, financial freedom. What could you do with the money that you are currently paying on your mortgage if you didn't have to pay your mortgage? What would you do with it? Would you put it in a retirement pot? Would you use it for travel? Would you get more takeaways? What would you do? And this is all part of this idea of having more freedom. Could you cut back your hours at work even? If you didn't have to pay for the roof over your head, would you be able to work less? So that's another really motivating factor about having your mortgage paid off, and overpaying on your mortgage is a part of that journey. Now, you might not be feeling like, oh yeah, but this is going to cost me a whole lot of money in the short term. So what are the actual shorter term benefits? It could potentially reduce your loan to value ratio. So this is how much loan you have compared to the value of your house. So let's say your house is worth £100,000 and you own 40% of it and you have a loan for 60% of this. So this means that you would have a loan to value of 60%. Now, the more of the house you own, the lower your loan to value. And this means that you get access to better interest rates. So it could essentially end up costing you less over the overall term of the mortgage, even if you were able to pay some of it off now. Now, obviously, it really depends how close you are to one of those barriers. They tend to be in kind of like 10 or 20% chunks. So most people start off with, say, a 10% deposit and a 90% loan. So that would be a 90% loan to value. If you find yourself getting quite close to the 80%, overpaying could maybe tip you over into the next bracket, and then you have access to some better rates. So even if you do this in the short term, you could see some benefits if you're kind of on one of those boundaries for the loan to value ratio. Thinking longer term, what you could end up doing is reducing the term of your mortgage. So most mortgages are typically like 25 to 30 years, and you could carry on paying it over your course of your life like that. But if you start overpaying, you could bring that mortgage-free date a lot closer. So there are plenty of examples of people that have cut 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years off their mortgage term by overpaying on their mortgage. So like for us, if we could cut 10 years off our mortgage, then we would be mortgage free when we were in our mid-40s, which would give us a whole load of extra money and a whole load more freedoms and the potential for maybe early retirement if we could do that. So obviously you have to look at your individual situation and decide whether this is something that you aspire to. Another consideration is that this could be a better use of your money compared to keeping it in savings. So let's say you are paying an interest rate on your mortgage of 2%, but in your savings account, you're only earning 1%. So actually, if you use the money in your savings account to pay off your mortgage, you'd actually be getting a better return on that in the form of paying less interest. Now, obviously, there are some reservations about this, and there are lots of reasons why this might not be a great idea. But it's one thing to consider is your money working hard enough in your savings account, or could you use it for something better? So why shouldn't you overpay your mortgage? So for completeness around this argument, I think it's good to look at some of the negatives too. So the first one is once you've done that, it's very hard to get it back. If you want to access some of the money in your home, you are going to have to remortgage, ask for more money, and then put yourself in a whole other loan with potentially worse interest rates. So that's something you need to consider. This is not a bank account. You're not just putting the money over there and then you can take it back whenever you like. Once you send that money as an overpayment, that's it. It is gone. So it's something that you need to consider very carefully. You don't want to leave yourself short in your savings. So even though I said it could work harder for you if you put it in your mortgage, you still need to have some savings. So you need to make sure you have things like emergency funds, etc. The flip side to this is doing this actually the best thing for your money? Although it might be better than keeping the money in savings, is it actually going to get you the best return? So you might be getting 1% in your savings, which at the moment is okay. Like you'd be doing really well if you got that. Like there's not many bank accounts that are offering 1%. So if you get 1% in your savings, your mortgage interest rate is 2%. So paying off the mortgage will be better than saving, but there are other options too. You might be able to get an even higher return from investing. Obviously, there are risks involved with that, and you need to decide whether that's the right thing for you. Speak to a financial advisor if you want more information about this, but that's a big consideration for a lot of people when they look at overpaying their mortgage versus investing. What sort of returns can you get on your money? So what things do you need to watch out for? So the first one is, are you actually allowed to overpay on your mortgage? Most mortgage providers allow you to overpay by 10% per year. So obviously if you are overpaying, as you are getting closer and closer to that day when you finally pay off your mortgage, you're going to be able to pay off less and less per year. So you need to watch out for that, and you might find that you need to think of a different strategy when you get closer to the end of your mortgage term. And you are going to need to check with your bank or mortgage provider to see if they actually offer that. For some mortgages, there are huge fees if you overpay and you are not allowed to. There's also normally fees that are incurred if you go over any limits that are set. So make sure you ring your bank, you ring your mortgage provider, or send them an email to see what their terms are and if you're actually allowed to overpay. So the next thing is, actually, is it in your best interest to do this? So do you actually need access to that money? Is it going to actually achieve anything for you, or is there something better you can do? So I've hinted at this already in this video, but you need to think carefully about whether or not this is the right thing for you in your current situation. For me, I have reservations about overpaying because I think there are other things I would rather do with my money, but I also see the benefits. So I kind of do a bit of both, like a bit of investing investing, a bit of saving, and a bit of overpaying my mortgage. So need to work out a balance that's right for you. There are other people that are just aggressively paying off their mortgage because they want to be mortgage free. So have a conversation with your partner or any other members of your family that have a stake in this and come up with a plan that you think sits well for you. And then the final thing in this section is to make sure that you actually have your savings. Have you got a good emergency fund? Will it cover you in case of any repairs or surprises that come up? Will it cover you if you're out of work for 3 to 6 months? Make sure that you have this before you start considering things like overpaying mortgages or investing. And one more point, make sure that if you have any high interest debt, so these are credit cards with like 20% interest rates, focus on paying those off first. They are costing you a whole lot more than your mortgages. So clear those and then work on your mortgage. So now I'm just going to show you a little mortgage calculator. There are lots of these available online and just show you some of the impacts that you can have by overpaying your mortgage. Okay, so here is a calculator that I found on moneySavingExpert.com. So I did a quick Google and I typed in mortgage overpayment calculator and this is what came up. So in here you can see that you have like mortgage debt, so you can change the amount that you owe, you can change the term of the mortgage, this is how long you have left to pay. You can change the type of mortgage that you have, whether it's interest only, so this is just paying interest, you're not paying off the capital, or whether it's repayment. So this is where you're owning more of your house as you go along. There's obviously a bit to change the interest rate, and or if you don't know that, you can type in your monthly payment there. So then you can look at the impact of doing a one-off overpayment or a recurring overpayment. So let's have a look at the impact. So if we leave all these details here, that's fine. Just by way of an example, you can experiment with this yourself to see the impact. So what would happen if you were paying £200 per month? And if you click calculate, it gives you these details. So it says that overpaying would save you nearly £23,000 in interest alone. And you would pay off the debt in full 8 years and 1 month earlier. So this is if you were paying £651 per month and you are consistently paying an extra £200 per month. So if you have a look at this graph, you can see, so that top line is the rate at which you are paying it off if you carried on just paying what you're paying now. And then this bottom line is what happens if you pay off an extra £200 per month. And as you can see, the difference between this figure here and this one here is the amount of years that you do it sooner. Okay, this is the amount of time saving that you have on the term of your mortgage. So if we was to tweak that and even make that 300, you can play around with this and look at the difference. So there you'd save nearly £30,000 in interest and you would pay off 10 years earlier. So this was on over 25 years and you would cut 10 years off of that, so you pay it off in 15 years. And there you can see the graphs again. So I recommend you go and find one of these calculators. There are lots of these about. The Money Saving Expert one was the one that came up at the top. And it works really well. So have a little play around with that and see what you can find out about your mortgage. So the final thing to say is, how do you overpay your mortgage? Well, the thing to do is to check with your mortgage provider. Ask them how you go about doing this. Normally, it's as simple as transferring the money from your bank account to your mortgage account, and that's it. Obviously, you'll need to keep an eye on how much you've sent that way and whether you are close to any limits. And just transfer that. You can set up a regular payment. So if you want to overpay by a certain amount each month, you can set up a direct debit that just transfers the money to that mortgage account every month. So you can be routinely overpaying. Anyway, I hope you found this video super interesting and maybe it's inspired you to overpay your mortgage, or maybe it's made you think about some alternatives. There are lots of different things that you can do with your money, and this is personal finance. So what works for me may not work for you. So you need to go do your research, think about whether this is a strategy that might work for you and your family. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can catch up with all my future videos. Feel free to come and follow me on my social media channels too. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Looking After Your Pennies, Twitter at Jessup Blogs, and Facebook is /Looking After Your Pennies. You can also visit my website, which is lookingafteryourpennies.com. Thank you for watching today, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.